Hey everybody, welcome to the Calitraveler podcast show. I'm your host, Paul. Once again, welcome to the Calitraveler podcast show. I'm your host, Paul. Welcome to episode 5 of the Calitraveler podcast show. Today marks 13 more days until the U.S. presidential election. Podcast is actually geared towards my listeners that are from the States, whether you guys are in the States or you're abroad. So normally I don't like to talk about politics, anything of that sense. However, I feel as if this is a message that everybody needs to know about politics, but rather about voting and some tips. So if you're abroad, like I am, and you think that you can't vote because you're not in the United States, just know that you are wrong. Yes, you can vote while you're abroad. If you haven't already, you should go on to the U.S. State Department website, and depending on what country you're in, they will have about applying for what they call absentee ballot. If you're an American citizen who has not had their civil liberties revoked, such as having a felony conviction, you can vote. Absentee ballot is used for when you are not in your area of residence. For instance, I'm from the state of California. When I applied for my absentee ballot, what I ended up doing was I was directed to the California state website, and then I applied for the absentee ballot, gave them my address. They will use the address of your residence back home, and then they'll just mail it to your residence abroad. Basically the same back home, like voting by mail, except they'll send it to wherever your international destination is at in the States. And when you get this ballot, usually you'll get it about 1 month before the actual election, which I got mine 2 weeks ago and I voted on the very same day. There's a couple of ways that you'll be able to get your ballot to the States. You can do what I did, and I ended up having it shipped via Thailand Post. Or what you can do is you ballot sent to the American Embassy. And from what I was reading on election day, that they have boxes to where you can give your ballots in the mail. However, what I recommend doing is I would recommend just sending it out in the mail, and it'll be back in the States within a couple of weeks. And if you do have any questions about voting, is that every vote counts. You need to get out there and vote. Doesn't matter what your political party affiliation is. It doesn't matter who your favorite candidate is. It doesn't matter what. I would recommend checking out the website of your state and seeing what the different rules are for registering to vote, submitting ballots, etc., because every state is different. But another message that I have for my fellow Americans, whether you're at home or you're abroad, state propositions that you agree or disagree with, get out there and vote. Because remember that every voice heard is a voice that will bring forth change within our nation. It's very important to get out there and vote. And remember this, after the election, it doesn't matter who wins. It doesn't matter who loses. At the end of the day, we as fellow Americans must realize that our political differences shouldn't divide us and make us hate one another. As President Abraham Lincoln once said, "A nation divided cannot stand." Well, we as a nation, we must stand together no matter what our differences in political ideology. And remember this, being a patriot does not mean that you vote by party, but being a patriot means that you have a love for your country. And remember that this election is one that is going to ultimately decide the fate of our country, because every 4 years we elect or re-elect the President of the United States. Get out there, vote. If you haven't registered to vote, check your state's deadline of when you can register to vote. Just get out there and let your voice be heard. So just remember, as President Abraham Lincoln once said, "A nation divided cannot stand." So let's get out there, let's vote, Let's let our voices be heard. Podcast can be heard weekly on my YouTube channel, so subscribe to Calitraveler 93, as well as liking my Facebook page, Calitraveler 93. And the podcast will be available on Spotify and other platforms.